Welcome to the Panthers postgame show. Kristen Balboni, Al Wallace, Mike Tolbert, and guys, today we are talking about your NFC South champions, the Carolina Panthers. Al, how good does this feel to say that?
It feels good. It felt good going into Harris Teeter last night because everyone wants to know about the Carolina Panthers, how they get it done. Don't worry about the previous 18 weeks. You got an opportunity in the bank coming up on Saturday to get it done.
Mike, I know you know. I mean, it's a whole new season now.
Oh, yeah, 0-0, man. And everybody has an opportunity now. It's so fun to have this energy back in the city right now. Like Al said, going to Harris Teeter. I was at the gas station this morning, got out my hoodie and was like, "Go Panthers!" I'm like, keep pounding.
That's
you know
right,
what I mean?
baby.
So it's exciting for sure right now.
That's right, and it's exciting for this team that have put themselves in this position at the end of the season. It's exciting for the fans, the former players. It's just, as you said, good vibes all around. Certainly good vibes coming in to the stadium today. You know, we see all the cars here early. Guys are ready to work. Guys are ready to get treatment. Great day all around. Let's go back to Saturday's game, though, because there are some things that we need to talk about. This is the Panthers postgame show. After all, one of the biggest storylines in the Panthers game were some of these calls that happened, right? Some of the calls from the refs. And this is something that we're going to touch on, not because this is a team that was upset, you know, or this is a storyline. I mean, this was a national storyline, guys. So I want to take you through some of the most controversial calls, and I want to hear what you guys see on these. So the first one, we're going to start with this Rico Dowdle play, and just a real kind of perplexing call right there. It was a inadvertent whistle, and then ended up being a 6-yard loss, and they said it was out of bounds. Mike, what do you see here?
You know, I'm a little confused as to what the referees were talking about.
Yeah.
But you know, if Rico caught that ball, that completely changes everything. But we know where we got to get better at, and as you can see, Bryce is
I don't
not
think
happy.
I've ever seen him like that
Exactly.
before. Yeah. So that is an interesting one right there. And Al, then I want to go to the next one, which was Tommy Tremble got his helmet ripped off, right? And then no call there as we finish up watching this Rico play. And okay, we're going to take a look right here at this one. Al, tell me what you see.
Yeah, you see a guy who's known for just getting after it in the blocking game, and there's no better visual than a player's helmet being ripped off. He's standing there in the middle of the field with no cap on, so you know something's happened. Take a look at it. To be able or to miss this, not call this by the referees, it just takes another opportunity for the Panthers to extend the drive, to pick up a first down. And in this type of game, in this climate with so much on the line, how do you miss that? How do you miss those opportunities? His helmet didn't come off by itself.
No, it certainly didn't. He didn't take it off after the play or during the play. All right, this next one was maybe the biggest one that caught the attention of a lot of people, right? And rightfully so. This was called offensive pass interference for this little bit of hand fighting right there. Mike, what gives here?
You know, this is a penalty that obviously shouldn't have been called, but you'll take the aggressiveness out of your star receiver 10 times out of 10. This is unfortunate because it was a huge third down conversion, you know, which would have led to probably scoring some points. But like I said, I'll take T-Mac doing that every time.
Al?
Yeah, this is a guy, a young wide receiver who's being physical at the line of scrimmage, within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage, trying to get a release. And you penalize him because a defensive back loses his footing. He doesn't have a good base underneath him, but T-Mac creating some separation is how we judge wide receivers, is what we're looking for from a big guy that you draft with the 8th overall pick. And he gets it done in a critical situation, and that play is just completely wiped away from exactly what he's being coached to do. Be physical, get some separation, and run your route and catch the ball.
Yeah, and I believe that penalty wasn't called until after the catch. So just, you know, odd all around. Now, speaking of pass interference, there was a pass interference call. Unfortunately, it was on Nick Scott right here. And if you look, it kind of looked like Cade Otton tripped over himself right here. I mean, Al, how much of a backbreaker is something like this to a defense?
Yeah, if you tell me Nick Scott got a little bit of his arm and there's some contact right there, I can live with that, but not because Cade Otton goes to the ground. You can clearly see on the replay where he clicks his heels together. He falls on his own. And again, the Panthers are in a situation where now that drive is extended. You bail the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out, and the guy who's playing good coverage gets penalized for a stumble, a fall, losing balance out there on the football field.
And Mike, we see these guys. Of course, we saw Bryce Young, we saw T-Mac talking to the refs, we saw Dave Canales. I believe it was after this one, just kind of get at a certain point. Say something. What are you saying to the refs in a respectful manner in terms of like, hey, what's going on here?
I mean, you're upset because this is their livelihood, you know what I'm saying? So this is something that you're upset about it and you try to move on, but these are huge momentum swing plays that gives the Tampa Bay Buccaneers another opportunity to get down the field or whatever it may be. So you try your best to be respectful, but I know as a former player, Al can attest to this too, that it's not always respectful when you get to that type of situation. So it's unfortunate.
And Al, I truly believe that, there are certainly fans that have different opinions, but I truly believe that no ref wants to get it wrong. No ref wants to change the outcome of a game on purpose. But at the same time, you go through these, 4 or 5 big plays in a game, and at a certain point, you just have to throw your hands up, it feels like.
Yeah, KB, I think that's the biggest point. When you look at the game, we're always talking about it going down to the last 4 or 5 plays or 4 or 5 plays being pivotal in these matchups, and to have it be the 4 or 5 plays that the guys with the black and white jerseys, shirts on, determine the outcome of the NFC South, it just doesn't feel good. And they'll have to go back. They do like we do, Mike. They evaluate themselves on film, and this can't be a good grade. They can't have graded out well after this performance.
Mm-hmm. And we do want to show, like I said, this is not just a storyline. You certainly have games. We've seen games across the NFL where people will say this call, you might have a team that's a little salty, and certainly the fans were in this one. But this really was a national story. And these are just, for example, former players on a national stage that tweeted just in the moment. I mean, the OPI that was called there. I mean, that was a big one. That's a lot of these tweets. But then just overall, I mean, it really became a national story. So my question for you, and Al, I'll start with you because you kind of brought this up. Are there lingering after effects? Certainly it feels a little bit better now that you've won the division, but do you guys play differently, the next game? How do you flush it? Like, are you worried about some of these calls going against you if you're not on your P's and Q's going forward at all?
Yeah, it's frustrating in the moment. And you see from that list that there are 5 or 6 defensive backs, former defensive backs on those tweets that see those things.
And we never hear from them.
Yeah, in the moment, it will impact maybe how you play and how you see the game. But overall, Mike, we just train to go on autopilot. There are so many reps in practice and training camp in the offseason that when you go to the next week, you just go out there and play. Your body blacks out. It does what it's been trained to do. You never, ever overthink what the referees are going to do. You play football. You play it aggressively because that's how the game was made.
So, Mike, when you leave the field, the bitterness is gone.
Yeah, the bitterness is gone, but you also understand, too, that you can't change, like Al said, what the referees are doing. So you understand that you're playing the game a certain way, right? The referees made those calls. You're going to continue to play that way. You've been taught this from whatever time you started playing ball until now. So just continue to play, and hopefully some of those calls go the opposite way.
And that is not to say also that the Panthers played a perfect game, and those were the only opportunities that kept them from winning this game. We certainly heard the guys, after the game on the podium saying, look, there's some things that, we'd like to clean up. One of those things, Mike, that I want to get your opinion on is the run game, and not just in this game, but lately, that's the team that offensively this team wants to be. That is the identity that they want to have, is run the ball. 2 great running backs. But it feels like they've gotten away from that a little bit lately. What have you seen?
Absolutely. I mean, I think with having 2 really good running backs, you have Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, right? You have guys that are explosive in their own right, but you also have guys that need to get into a rhythm, and some games, early in the season, we were second in rushing, we were doing really good things, and then coming after the bye week, we kind of let up a little bit. I would say that we need to, like I've been saying, we need to stick to who we are, right? We need to play really good, sound defense, and we need to run the football. That makes everything so much easier for Bryce. And you got 2 studs in the backfield. I would like to see a little bit more what we call pony personnel where you have Chuba and Rico in the game, it makes it a little bit more confusing for defenses because you don't know who's getting the ball. You don't know because Chuba's a very, very capable receiver at the same time. I think that is something that we can really, really look forward to in the postseason.
Yeah, I think when you look at rushing attacks as a defensive player, it's who teams are versus who they want to be. And I think the identity of this team is built around that offensive line and those two backs in the backfield and the identity of running the ball, pounding the rock. And it is the commitment, the long-term commitment, not just throughout the season, but throughout the course of a game that determines exactly who you are. We know what you want to be, but who are you? Are you a team, no matter what, that is going to pound the rock, and the Panthers have to get back to that?
Yeah, we saw that. And like you said, Mike, quarters 1 through 3 at the first part of the season, Panthers were running the ball almost more than anyone else. And then now, toward the back half of the season, one of the teams that runs the ball the least in those first 3 quarters. And so, my question to you, and you touched on this a little bit with Pony, it felt like it was maybe that Saints game, around that time, that first Saints game, where they kind of said, okay, we're going to sell out to stop the run, and we're going to make you beat us with your passing game, right? And I don't know if that is kind of what changed, or if the defenses figured things out, but is the solution, Mike, just to keep going?
I think it is. I think the solution, whenever somebody sells out to stop the run, the best running game is right at them, right? Let's run right at them. The Saints did it, I hate to say it, they did it perfectly, right? They loaded the box against us. We're going to stop Rico. We're going to stop Chuba. We're going to make you throw the ball and beat us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Al, what puts a defense on their heels when it comes to the running game?
Yeah, I think just wearing out the bodies, and Mike touched on this, and we talked about this. It is the commitment all game that when we get to the third and fourth quarter, we're going to keep coming at you. And I oftentimes when I talk about the Panthers and the culture and the identity, I go back to 2003, Deshaun Foster and Stephen Davis. No matter what you did, we were going to keep running, and we were going to die on that hill. But when it gets to the third quarter, the fourth quarter, when you're just tired of sticking a shoulder into a 235-pound running back, that's when you break. And we've seen that with the Carolina Panthers. When they've been able to commit to that, teams broke in the third and fourth quarter, and you saw this team just take over and dominate in the most important part of the game, and that's the in-game situations.
We were talking last night as we were getting ready for this show, and one of the things that you guys wanted to talk about was third down on offense and third down on defense. So let's start with the offense here. The last 2 games, 2 for 19, 10.5%, which is last in the NFL. Mike, when you hear those numbers, what can be done as we look ahead, that's what we're doing. As we look ahead to this Rams game, what can be done to fix that?
Well, I think first and foremost, the most important downs on offense is third down and short yardage, right? Because you want to be able to continue to move the chains. But to stay ahead of the chains, you got to be successful on first down, right? We can't get into penalties where it's a false start or things like that, or going 2nd and 10 because we got incomplete pass. Got to be successful on first down. I always say if we can get 3 to 4 yards on first down, it makes 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6 manageable, which makes it an easier third down conversion, right? We don't want to get the third down, right? We can just keep first, second tracking down the field, but we got to be successful on first down.
Yeah, it's one of those things when I attempt to play the game of golf, right? I'm not just using my driver. I'm just not trying to knock it down there. It's the short game. It's the intermediate game that gets you there. And for any offense, it's about pushing the ball 10 yards at a time. If you can put together and stack together 10-yard chunks, you're going to find yourself in the red zone. You're going to find yourself in better opportunities to score 6 points at a time. So for the Panthers, they have to find a way to move the sticks. They have to find an identity in those mid-range 2, 2nd and 6, a 3rd and 8 kind of scenarios where they can convert first downs, and they'll find themselves in a spot where Bryce Young has been really good down in the red zone.
Yeah. Well, also, though, the third down numbers don't tell the whole story because all Panthers fans know they're going to go for it on 4th down, and a lot of times it is going to be successful. This season, they've converted 67.5% of their 4th down conversions. That is 4th most in the NFL. Al, does that change the mentality of third down in terms of, all right, we're going to try this, but if not, We know we can go out and get it on 4th down when we want to.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's
No.
not something you want to do. But at the end of the day, I think the confidence you can build looking at the analytics and knowing that you're playing each series, each possession with 4 opportunities really gives this team confidence. And I think you have a really good leader at quarterback to be able to get that done. The calm, the confidence, his escapability in the pocket just makes it easier for Dave Canales in that offense to say, you know what, Bryce, we're going to give you in this offense an opportunity to get it done. And so many times the clutch guy on the field, number 9, has been able to come up with those 4th down conversions.
And Mike, how great is that feeling when you're like, oh, you want to stop us on 3rd down? Oh, we're just gonna get this done right here.
Listen, man, when I was here, I played under a coach and a quarterback who we already knew. We didn't even attempt to come off the field if it was 3rd and short
Yeah.
and 4th and short, because we already knew. And it's that same mentality. You know, they called Coach Rivera Riverboat Ron.
Riverboat Ron.
Well, I like Casino Canales because he's going after it. He's going after it every time. I love it.
All right, let's talk about the 3rd down defense now. So since the bye week, we've kind of been breaking these things up into chunks a little bit. Since the bye week, they've allowed 31 out of 56 attempts. That's 55. That is a 55% percentage, which is last in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a tough statistics because as we look at it on the other side, how critical it is to extend drives for the Panthers, right? One of our key goals every week we put on there, who's going to be the drive stopper? Who's the guy to get us off the field? So no matter what the yardage and down and distances, 3rd down is a critical down in the NFL. And this boils down to pressure, getting the ball out of quarterbacks' hands, but finishing plays. Can you get sacks? As we watch right here, Baker Mayfield kind of making magic and maneuvering around the pocket. Quarterbacks who are able to extend those plays, give his team an opportunity, it really crushes you. And then as a defender, you got to stay on the field. You're tired. You've fought. You've dug in for 3 or 4 snaps, and you want an opportunity to regroup. So to have drives extended is a backbreaker in some offenses, and it really kind of boils down to these improvised plays. We watched Baker Mayfield do it a couple of times this season.
Mike, you're in the film room and you watch some of this film of the Panthers allowing completions on 3rd down. What does that do for you as an offense, confidence-wise, going into the game?
Well, it tells you that you're going to have opportunities as an offense, right? But you also know that if you're watching film, you know that this is, like I say, a bend but don't break defense. So once you get into the red zone, they get real stingy, right? You get a lot of turnovers in the red zone. You get a lot of field goal opportunities. So as an offense, you think to myself like, hey, we have to score touchdowns. We can't beat this team by kicking field goals. And we know that this is a really good red zone defense.
Al, you mentioned generating more pressure. I want to talk about the way in which they can do that against the Rams specifically first. So, we didn't know until the last minute, would they be playing the 49ers? Would they be playing the Rams? Certainly we saw both teams earlier. It was very successful against the Rams. But as a defender, when you look at the quarterback that you're facing now, Matthew Stafford, one of the best of this generation, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking give me Matthew Stafford. I'm glad it's the Rams
Really?
and not Brock Purdy. I played against Mike Vick, so I have PTSD. I'm sorry for that. It was a tough proposition to chase down guys who are capable of escaping the pocket. Brock Purdy at the end of the season really ramped up his production as a dual threat quarterback, and I'd rather have a guy I know that's going to be in the pocket. Now, there are some other things that come along with Matthew Stafford. Maybe this year's MVP, certainly a Hall of Famer in the NFL, and keeping that offense and those weapons contained. But I would choose a pocket passer over a guy that can just disappear in this NFL as a pass rusher.
And Mike, and then the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey that you have to deal with as well.
It's weapons all around this league.
Yeah. That's
right. You just got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared depending on what group you're going to see. So, Al, let's talk about how this team can generate pressure in this game. So you look, the stats tell a very interesting story. 148 quarterback pressures this season, which is last in the NFL. Why is that?
Yeah, I think just the youth, right? We talk about the youth, especially the 2 young pass rushers who just did a great job of battling through some of those mid-season kind of walls that you hit as a rookie and figuring it out and figuring out their tools and what works in the NFL versus the athleticism that shows up in college in the SEC a lot more. So they figured it out, a lot more pressure. You see Derek Brown being more active in the passing game, ended that game a of just a few weeks ago against the Rams. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can generate that pressure from Ejiro Evero and get after Matthew Stafford.
And off the edge, we've seen Nick Scorton really come along. We've been talking about some of these
Crazy
rookies.
growth.
Man, that's what we're saying. And I talked to Dave Canales, and he said, that is why we play these rookies early. We are willing to live with the mistakes that they make early on to now have them in a place where they are confident, they are contributors in a big way going into this part of the season because the Panthers need them, Mike.
100%. I mean, Nick Scorton has, like you said, crazy growth. I've been watching him, and it's just amazing to see. Especially, I like when a outside linebacker, defensive end, when they take on a pulling guard, and you just see that pulling guard just stand up. That's a guy that gets it. You know what I'm saying? You create a pile, create a mush. Nick Scorton he's definitely probably the most improved, I would say.
And that's a hard thing to learn, guys, because they teach you, don't take one for one, right? Don't sacrifice yourself for everybody else to make the play. And so he's not only taking on those guards saying, hey, I've done my job. I'm going to make that play spill, bounce to the outside, but I can make the play too. So he's digging that thing out. He's coming underneath, throwing his body around. He's playing with confidence and he's playing with violence. And that's the thing I like the most.
Absolutely. And now, Al, there is a way that the Panthers have been successful in getting pressure. So I would love for you to kind of look at these numbers and tell us what you see here. So they are second in sacks when blitzing. What does this tell you?
This tells me that the man you're seeing right there, Ejiro Evero, has done a really good job of understanding his personnel. He's figured out what works for this defense. And long gone are the days where a four-man rush gets it done. I'll be sandwiched in between that Denver Broncos defense and the Minnesota Vikings defense, two of the better, more aggressive blitzing defenses in the NFL. That means you've figured it out. You're adding guys and linebackers and adding wrinkles to how you get after quarterbacks in the NFL. Four-man rushes just don't get it done.
All right, hopefully we see a lot of this when it comes to this Rams game at home at Bank of America Stadium. The guys have headed to the board because they are going to break this down in more detail, just how the Panthers can do this. Al, Mike, what you got for us?
Thanks, KB. Mike, let's take a look at a shift on the defense. Ejiro Evero shifted the second half of this season with how he pressures offenses, how they get after quarterbacks. The linebackers, the safeties have all been involved with creating very disruptive pass rush in this defense, and really is going to be necessary to get after Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Right here, let's just take a look at this defense and having a corner blitz, right? A very unique thing, and we'll let it get to the end zone copy right here. But we're going to see the Carolina Panthers bring 4 weeks. Just look at the eyes right here of Baker Mayfield, just not even looking at this pressure that's going to come from the backside. Here's 4 week, right? You got one guy, 2, 3, and Derek Brown in the middle there. J.C. Horn, the corner, coming off the back end for 1, 2, 3 guys. Now, you just tell me right here what the running back is doing, Mike, as we let this one run, but a very unique blitz as you bring a corner from the short side of the field, passing formation to the field over here. Baker just never sees it coming.
Yeah, that's always, as a running back, that's always one of the tougher calls to have that boundary side corner blitzing. But we always say, safeties, if we run it back just a little bit, safeties is going to take you to pressure, right? Safeties take you to pressure. As we pause it, you see you got Nick Scott out here, out wide outside the hash. We call it splitting the difference between the hash and the numbers. Hardly ever there, right? But then you got your second safety back here that is right on the hash. Then you got a nickel here and your corner here, right? You automatically know that your eyes and your work has to come out this wide just because the safety is going to take you to pressure. This is just a miss in protection by this running back.
Yeah, a huge miss and a huge opportunity. Long gone are the days and maybe the evolution of this defense with Ejiro Evero understanding his personnel, understanding what works in this defense, and how to be creative, more creative in the back half of this season at getting after some of these elite quarterbacks that we were seeing. And they do it in so many different ways. Right there, you saw the corner blitz. You see a guy, J.C. Horn, coming off of the corner. Now we'll continue to see this guy, the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army knife, the eraser This guy fixes all the problems on the defense, no matter where he's lined up. You got to find him, but you're going to just watch more and more pressure come off the edge. This time it's Christian Roseboom. Just watch again how they utilize the linebackers, right? So talked about Merrick right here. All those eyes are going to be on number 7, and rightfully so. But you have your linemen, 1, 2, 3, and you have 4 right there with DJ Wanham on the outside. But you notice Mike 56 kind of creeping up in there, taking a look, but he's going to involve himself in this pass rush. Great line stunt involving a linebacker in this thing. You have 2 guys crashing down, and then Christian Roseboom kind of coming around the end, sealing the deal. One of his 2 sacks on the season. Just been very good for the Carolina Panthers, and how creative they've been finding ways for Christian Roseboom to get involved and do a good job of pressuring, sacking, hitting quarterbacks. And here we go with Merrick right here, a guy that just does everything for this defense. We'll let it get to the end zone copy right here. Take a look again, lining up on the edge right here, unblocked. You're going to pay attention to all these big guys who are going to go away and take the eyes, but huge point. Back turn right there from Sam Darnold. He never sees Merrick come in. And then just good balance as he's playing defense and understanding where he's supposed to be. Look at Walker, the running back. I always want to get you there. Where's his eyes? Where is he supposed to be?
Exactly.
Lost is what it tells me, and on the ground again. We got Trayvon Merrick. He's going to be coming from the edge. Let it get to the end zone copy here as we take a look. One-on-one situation, sign me up. Again,
right
all these big guys, they're going to take the attention of the offensive lineman, and you get one-on-one with a guy coming from the outside. How often do you guys, Mike, kind of practice those pass pros, those one-on-ones as a smaller running back trying to stop one of the most versatile defensive backs in the NFL?
You know, we practice it every day. That don't mean everybody could do it. You know, we had a thing that the smaller guys like Fozzie Whitaker and those guys that were with us, they weren't really on the field unless they were doing some type of passing route. It was usually me or Stu on the field because we needed to be able to put hands on those guys that was rushing off the edge, because it's not always a safety or a cornerback. Sometimes it's a linebacker that's 240 pounds. And you got to be able to put your hat on the hat and protect it up.
Yeah, it's great to see the evolution of this defense. Ajero Avero coming up with very, very creative ways to get out of that 4-man rush, putting the pressure on those young pass rushers that they drafted this season, and adding in some veteran presence, safeties, linebackers, even a corner blitz we saw right there. So we're talking about great plays on defense and how they can get after Matthew Stafford. But let's go back in the time machine a little bit, Mike, and take a look at one of the most iconic plays in Carolina Panthers history. I was there. You'll see an old ball guy, number 96, show up in the film right here. Ex-Clown Steve Smith getting it done in the divisional round in St. Louis. Man, what a day.
Blitz again coming. Delhomme pumps. He's got time. Throws downfield. Smith at the 45 to the 40.
It's
breaks
over.
free.
It's
20,
over.
10, 5. Touchdown!
Woo!
Touchdown, Steve Smith. 69 yards. And we are going to the NFC Championship game. What an incredible win.
Fitting that this happened on January 10th, 2004. Ex-Clown, a play that lives in Panthers lore, and rightfully so. And now that the Panthers are playing the Rams on January 10th, 2026, I mean, we got to talk about it. Talk me through that incredible, incredible play to end that game.
Yeah, what an incredible memory to kind of relive that and to see the celebration afterwards, KB. It was one of those things leading up all week that we have been told we have no chance against the greatest show on turf, right? They were going to come and beat us on their field. They were nearly perfect over the last several years in that building, and we go out in there. This is early Stephen Davis in that football game and get it done. First play, double overtime to hit that pass. Jake Delhomme to Steve Smith, man, we were off the bench and headed that way before Steve even crossed the goal line.
I bet you knew, and we heard the announcer. It's over. You guys knew as well. And Mike, you have been a part of a mythical run as well. And I think these moments teach you, and it really is true that any given Sunday, anything can happen.
Absolutely. I mean, at the NFL, everybody's the best of the best. Whether you're 3-13 or 13-3, whatever the record may be, anybody can be beat. You know what I'm saying? So you have to put your best foot forward. And I'm just glad we're got opportunity this weekend.
Absolutely. January 10th. That's a big day for the Panthers, no doubt about it. I want to talk to you guys about, we mentioned it at the start of the show, the feeling in the building. The Panthers have not been NFC South champs since 2015. So this is a big deal. Of course it is. Al, when you come into the building, when you've finished the regular season and you've made the playoffs, does it feel different? Are you walking with a little spring in your step? How do you approach it?
Yeah, I think it's different. Obviously, my NFC South title was different than the Panthers got. There's kind of a 24-hour delay there.
Yeah.
So we were out in Arizona, 3-game slide against the NFC East, and we go out to Arizona. Josh McCown's the quarterback, and we were able to get it done. So that celebration started immediately on the airplane as we flew back from Arizona. But that feeling in the locker room is all the hard work, all the blood, sweat, and tears. That is the #1 goal. You get in if you win the division, and to accomplish that, the hats, the t-shirts, the feeling that you've really checked off one of those boxes, you quickly throw that away because there's a lot of meat on the bone. There's still some work to be done.
And Mike, you talked about this a little bit earlier, this young team, and we've seen them come on, as the season has progressed, but still very young. A lot of opportunities for guys to play in their first playoff game. And, even like Derek Brown has said, this is my first opportunity as a pro to really play in these meaningful games. What is the responsibility of these vets or of these guys who have been on other teams who have won Super Bowls or made deep runs in the playoffs?
Well, it's their responsibility to bring everybody along, right? Coach Canales has been there. J.J. Jansen is another guy that's been there. It's their responsibility to say, hey, look, this is another football game, but know what happens at the end of the tunnel. Right? No, this is what we fight all year for. This is why we're here, is to have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. And all you can ask is for one play at a time.
All right, finally, how you guys feeling about this one, Mike?
I feel great. This is the first time in a long time I felt all tingling inside about Panthers football, so I'm excited. I am definitely going to be in the house Saturday afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. I think the city is going to be rocking. I think the team is going to be ready to go.
It's going to be a stand-up game, right? You're watching on TV, you're going to be standing the whole time. 100%. I know I would. Al, how do you feel about this one?
I'm like Mike, man. I'm excited as a fan to have an opportunity to see this team come back home where they beat these Rams in this building. And I just love matchups. I love the style. And the Panthers being physical on that defensive side, Derek Brown in the middle of the defense, Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn just coming alive and playing good football. And I believe J.C. wasn't even in this game the last time they beat the Rams. So let's see if we can get it done. And, man, I know this building is going to be rocking. It has been the last several weeks. I cannot wait to see this one.
It's going to be one of those atmospheres that's going to give us all chills, and rightfully so. All right, guys, thank you so much, as always. This was great. What a great way to talk about on the Panthers postgame show, coming in not just the game, but now we're talking about a division title and a playoff run potentially. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back with you on the Panthers postgame show next Monday, hopefully talking about a big win over the Rams once again. We'll see you next week.